Hello, welcome back to the show. Today is the first of what I think is going to be a new series. And I just decided, so it is. It is a new series. And that series is I'm coming on to answer some of your coaching questions. So if you didn't know, we are currently doing free coaching over texting on Tuesdays. It is a mouthful, but that means that on Tuesdays, you can text me at 973-358-7836. And you could text me questions. You could text me anything about entrepreneurship, leadership, business strategy, money mindset, RV life, whatever it is that you want to text me. You can ask me questions, and I take the first 10 people that ask a question and I answer them. So I'm answering you through text. Yes, it's really me. Most of the time I am voice memoing you back, and we can have a little barter. We can have a little conversation, a little back and forth. And it's been really fun. So after the first few weeks of doing this, I decided, wouldn't it be fun if I took some of your questions and actually answered them live on the podcast? And so that's what today's all about. Let's call it part one in maybe a new series that we're going to be rolling out. So I'm going to answer some of the questions that are coming in right here on the podcast. Again, Tuesdays, feel free to text me at 973-358-7836. And I take the first 10 people and I answer those questions. No strings attached. I'm not selling you anything. I don't need you to join anything. I'm literally just coaching you for free because honestly, coaching and teaching is my favorite thing to do. And as we have been scaling this company and building this company, I don't get to do as much of that as I once did. And you might feel that. You might resonate with that. That might be true in your life and in your business right now. And so often the things that we love doing or the things that we're passionate about or the things that are the driving force behind our purpose, sometimes the gap gets a little bit bigger as you start focusing on other things. So it is just literally my favorite thing to do. I love it. I love coaching. And I will say as a disclaimer, anything that I give you back, any sort of answer or feedback, unless I know the context of what we're talking about, I can't always give you the perfect answer. And I'm not a guru. I'm not an expert, right? I'm an expert in a lot of different things, but like all of us, I'm just speaking from my own experience. I'm speaking from my own lived experience, my own perspective, my own beliefs, things that have worked for me or things that have worked for clients. So unless I know the context of everything, a lot of times I am going to say, I can't really answer that without any more information. I don't want to do you a disservice. And I would never want to put you into a position that's actually not best for you or for your business. So the other thing that I'm loving is also just seeing how many cool conversations are striking from the questions that you're sending in. I'm getting to learn so much about you and so much about your businesses. And it's so freaking cool. We have people all over the world that we get to communicate with and collaborate with. And I just love it. So without further ado, today I'm going to answer 3 of the questions that came in from last week. So the first question came in from Vita, and she asked, what is the first thing that you would choose to focus on if you were transitioning from in-person educational services to an online model? Now, a lot of people also asked a very similar question. Basically, if you had to start over, what would you focus on? Or if you were just starting out, what would you focus on? So that's one of the reasons I picked this question, is because just so many people ask so many different iterations of this. And here's my answer. The first thing that I would be focusing on, whether I'm starting out, whether I'm transitioning, whether I'm pivoting, is really twofold, but they're kind of one and the same. So the first part is content. I would be focused on content, 100%. Putting out content, being completely detached from the outcome, meaning not caring if it converts, not worrying if people follow me, not looking at the likes, not focusing on the vanity metrics, none of that. I would just be creating content. Honestly, B grade content, like level B content. I would rather see a client or myself put out more B and C level content than sitting around trying to make perfect A content. And I'm talking about, grades in school. So I would rather see messier B grade content, C grade content at more volume than really, really perfect curated A content. Because here's the trick. A lot of practice on B content is what creates A content. Did you hear me? Like, more reps is what makes you better. More times at bat is what gives you a better opportunity to hit the ball, to get better at it. So putting out more B grade content will eventually yield A grade content. It also is the perfect way to market research. Really understand, what does your audience want? What do they need? What are they asking for? What do they like? What do they not like? What audience do you even have in front of you? Of course, creating content is going to flex your content muscle, which if you're building a business, either you need to be good at creating content or you need to hire somebody that's good at creating content. Period. End of story. Your content is your relatability. It's how you build know, like, and trust, especially if you're a personal brand, which most of you listening are a personal brand. A coach, a service provider, a leader, a teacher, something like that, right? Where you're offering some sort of a service. And so building that know, like, and trust is massive. Content is where you get to story tell. We learn best from story. That's why we have children's books and fables and tales. That's why we remember songs and stories from when we were little kids now that we're adults, because it's the best way for us to learn. It sticks in the brain. Content is the best place for you also to create free value, which in turn will create authority and credibility. It's a great place to share social proof, testimonials, and really just show the different areas of expertise that you have. Now, if you are a service provider, if you are a service-based business, heck, if you're even a product-based business, branding is everything. Branding is so much more than pretty pictures and colors and fonts and scripts and a logo. That's one element of branding. But what branding is really, what do you stand for? Who do you stand for? Who do you not stand for? What do you not stand for? What are your core values? What's the mission and vision of your company? What's the energy that is behind everything that you do? Brand identity, brand awareness comes from having really, really strong and consistent content. So without freaking out and worrying about how many likes and follows and how many readers and subscribers, just getting content out there. And the second thing that I would focus on, and it, like I said, goes hand in hand with content, is relationships. We're in a relationship business. We're in a relationship era. People buy from people. Humans want to connect with other humans. Relationships, real conversations, this is where you're going to get the best feedback. And like we always talk about, feedback is neutral. It doesn't mean anything about you or your value or your worth or your worthiness, right? Feedback is neutral. Clients will tell you, your audience will tell you what they want more of if you are willing to listen. You can, if you choose, lean into the direction of what they're saying. You don't always have to. I use this example all the time. I was a trainer for 18 years. And at this point where I'm recording this video, this podcast, I have now been, quote unquote, retired from training for 2.5 years. And you couldn't really pay me enough right now to go back to train you. I just won't do it. Like, there's a boundary there. So just because someone in my audience might ask me for a workout program doesn't mean I have to go do it. But if a lot of people are asking me, that might be something that I just want to listen to. It doesn't mean I have to go do it, but wait, why are so many people asking me? Is my messaging off? Is my content off? It's so interesting. I love using that word. It's so interesting that all these people in my audience are interested in training. Like, why is that happening right now? How could I change that? Am I misinforming them? Am I showing up in a certain way or content that is confusing them? So again, feedback is neutral, and what people are saying or how people are acting doesn't necessarily mean you need to go shift or pivot or change or evolve, but it's just data. And when we can collect the data and recognize that data is simply there to tell a story, well, then you get to decide what's the next chapter. So what's the first thing that I would choose to focus on if I was transitioning or if I was starting out? 100%, it's a dual content and relationships, especially on social media. It's social media because we're supposed to be social. Getting in the DMs, having conversations, getting on sales calls, not even selling people stuff, just listening, talking, hearing where they're at. What have they tried? What do they need? What do they want more of? What are they loving? And really building that know, like, and trust, the credibility, the authority, the value, right? When we show up and we teach people how to think and we guide people through our content on what we believe and how we show up in the world, they will come back to you to learn. And that is what a thought leader is. So content and relationships are the things that I would focus on. All right, question number 2 came in. It's a little shift here. And this question was from Allison. She said, how do I determine what I potentially want to launch in my business if I were to start a business online? How do I figure out my ZOG? So ZOG stands for Zone of Genius. So how do I know if it's a good idea? How do I figure out my zag? All right, there's a lot of different things here. There's a lot of elements. And again, without me knowing you, it's hard to answer, but I would start here. Every single one of us has something that we can share with the world. Every single one of us, there's almost 8 billion people on the planet. We all have a completely unique lived experience through different perspective and a different set of eyeballs. We have all been through different things with different emotions at different times in our lives. And so with that unique perspective and the experiences that you've had and the things that you've learned, you do have the ability to share, to teach, to guide, to lead, and ultimately to help others. We all have solutions to problems. We've all figured things out. We've all gone through moments or seasons of transformation. And so just know by simply living, you do have something. You are already there. You are an expert enough. You have value enough that you could help other people. So it's really just up to you if you want to unlock that. And when you think about it, if you're on the edge of your seat, if you've been thinking about it, there's those whispers, you kind of want to get into coaching, you want to start a business, you want to show up and start shifting the content that you're putting out in your social media, you really want to help people, ask yourself some questions. Journal on this. Go ahead, take a journal out, write these prompts down. Write a timeline of your life. I love having clients do this. They draw a horizontal line across the paper. And above the line, you're going to write down from the day that you were born, whether you want to track it by the age that you were or the year that it is, as many memories as you can remember that you would perceive as positive. So quote unquote, good things that have happened to you. And then underneath the line, I want you to write down all of the things that you perceive as negative or bad things that have happened to you. Now, of course, you're going to do this without judgment, right? But you're going to write these things down. Once you do and you fill that timeline up with as many things as possible, and I'll give you some examples, then you're going to go through everything above the line and see if there's a theme. What are the few themes or aspects that stand out? And then you're going to do the same thing for the bottom. Now, this could be a triggering exercise for a lot of us, and that's okay. So lean into some of the discomfort. Try your best to be really honest with yourself and understand that this is not a lesson now in, okay, go share everything. You don't have to do that. You don't have to share with anybody. This isn't a lesson or an exercise so that you can reflect back on your lived experience, your unique perspective, your human experience that you've had. And so for me, a lot of the things above the line, and you can giggle, you can laugh, it's totally fine. But a lot of the things above the line would be things like, gosh, captain of different teams, winning state championships, a lot of really good grades in school, winning different awards, getting different accolades, making certain amounts of money, being awarded with different things, building a school in Ghana, getting into certain masterminds that I wanted to, leaving my job, building my own business, retiring my husband, right? A lot of these things above the line, when I look at them, are very heavily themed in awards, accolades, significance. And I'm not judging myself. It's not bad or good. It's neutral. But a lot of the things that I perceive as good in my life have been things that were either experiential, which I didn't give you any of those examples, but gosh, so many memories of just incredible vacations with my family, going to Europe with my brother and my parents and our significant others. Like that was so fun. Mike and I doing RV life and traveling around the country and living in France when I was a kid for gymnastics, going to Australia when I was studying abroad in college. So lots of like travel and adventure and experience, as well as awards and accolades and significance. Now, under the line for me, there were a lot of things that I don't want to trigger anyone here, but an eating disorder and just certain things that were really difficult for me, a couple of really, really bad injuries, multiple surgeries, time that I was laid up from different injuries and surgeries, a lot of health issues, gut health issues, fractured vertebrae, multiple surgeries on both ankles, times in the wheelchair, feeling like I was lost and like I didn't fit in, not really getting along with girls. I always had a lot of guy friends, having a lot of hard friendships, and always feeling like I was living in a smaller container than I wanted to be. Hence the quitting this job and quitting that job and leaving and moving and just constantly moving myself to try to figure out where I belonged. And so some of the themes down there might be still a little bit of significance, but the need to feel seen, the need to feel loved. Worthiness for me has been huge. And I think that was a huge part of the eating disorder is that worthiness and just constant battle with my body and having mental health issues around that. So underneath the line, here are some of my examples. Now, once you have those examples in your life and you can see those themes or those aspects, you can start to piece together, what is it that you just kind of do? You just are, you just be, you just have. And then from there, what are things that you could just talk about for hours? What are your hobbies? What are your interests? What are you currently learning? What do you love learning about? If you went to school, what did you study in school? What do people know you for? If people are sliding into your DMs, what are they asking you about? How would friends and family describe you? Play the game. Literally, go ask 5 friends to give you 3 words that best describe you. Single words. What would they say? What type of words remind people about you? What type of songs do people think of you? What type of memories do people have with you? And really just breaking it down from there. So it's an element of, one, looking at your lived experience and your unique perspective based on everything you've been through. That will give you things that you're just innately good at, things that you just intuitively know, that you assume everybody knows, which is just not true. Then where are your hobbies and interests? What do you love to do? What could you talk about for hours? What are you obsessed with learning? What have you always loved learning? What have you always been interested in? And then how do people know you? What do they know you for? Now, when you have all of those things, then you can start to shift over into your niche. And niche or niche is just like a fancy word for industry or focus. So when you're thinking about your niche or your niche, a lot of us overthink it. And we make it a bigger deal than it is. We worry about it. We let it hold us back from actually taking action. So I'm going to break it down for you real fast. And I want you to visualize a Venn diagram. So we have 3 circles that overlap in the center circle. One circle is going to be, is it profitable? So the thing that you just unpacked from going through all of your stuff, and let's say for me, there's this theme of teaching and coaching, and I love teaching and coaching, and I've built this super successful business, and I love helping other people build their businesses, and I'm really good at it, and I'm really great at putting curriculums together. Is all of that stuff profitable? Meaning, is there demand in the marketplace? Do I have competitors? Are there other people doing the thing that I think I want to do or the thing that I think I want to teach? And if the answer is yes, I want you to run towards it, not away from it. We sometimes think that because it exists, then we can't do it anymore. And that couldn't be further from the truth. If you think about things like the smartphone, look at how Apple and Samsung has battled back and forth for, a decade, 2 decades. Whose next phone is better? Who gets to be more innovative? Who gets to create the next best thing? Which phone comes out with the new features? And they ping pong back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Think about coffee shops. I use this example all the time. We used to live in New York City. There is quite literally a coffee shop on every single street corner. I'm talking 4 coffee shops at minimum per block. And if you've ever been to a big city, you know what I'm talking about. And the reason why is because there's a demand. People love coffee shops, whether they want coffee or tea, or they want a vibe, they want somewhere they could sit, they could co-work, they want free Wi-Fi, they want bathrooms, whatever it is that they're looking for. There's enough demand that they can all exist. Now, we could talk about it on another podcast. Why does the cream rise? No pun intended. We're talking about coffee, but why do certain coffee shops do better than others? How are you the one to get to the top? But the point here is the first P is it profitable? Is it profitable? Saturation is not a bad thing. Saturation is what causes innovation. So when other people, brands, things, companies are doing what you want to do, it sort of forces you to innovate, to recreate, to reimagine. And this is what we see happening time and time again with big companies, especially technology companies. How can you do it better or faster? Now, the second P, because it's the 3 Ps in our Venn diagram, is what is your personal story? And that's why we just did all of those exercises of what have you been through? What's your unique perspective? What could you talk about for hours? What have you personally been through? What transformation have you been through? What solutions have you found, learned, or tried that have worked in your life for the problems that you have solved? Which then brings us to number 3, which is problem solving. So number 1, is it profitable? Number 2, what's your personal story to it? And number 3, what is the problem that you solve? So the problem that I solve in what I do in this business with Digital Business Evolution is I help people start and scale their online businesses. I can go deeper. I can unpack that. I help people with social media strategy. We help with digital marketing. We help with business strategy, lead generation, content creation, team building, hiring, scaling, Facebook ads, whatever it is, right? There's so many things that we can do. But with each thing that I'm doing or each thing that I'm teaching, I'm solving a problem. So when Allison asked, how do you determine what your zone of genius is? Go back, figure out your unique perspective, what you've lived through, what could you talk about for hours, what are you an expert at, what do people know you for? Then look at your 3 Ps. Is it profitable? What is the personal story that is attached to it? And what problem are you solving? I would say start there. And then our third and final question for today came in from Brittany. And she said, how do I get my butt up on unmotivated days? She didn't say but I did. How do I get my butt up on unmotivated days? So as always, I'm just giving you what works for me. What I've learned over the years is that when I feel stuck, I need to move. Hear me out. The only way that you could get unstuck is by moving, right? So whether you're thinking about a car that's been broken down or you sitting on the couch, whatever it might be, even just like a metaphorical stuck, the only way out is through. The only way to get unstuck is to move. It's the opposite. And so if I'm feeling unmotivated, I need to move. Stuck energy inside the body causes dis-ease. Let me say that again. Stuck energy causes dis-ease. And there are science and studies that will show you that literally that dis-ease, disease, can cause sickness. Now, I'm not just talking about stuck energy as in emotions, because we could do a whole episode on trapped emotions and how I see what that is and how it's played a role in my life and what I believe and what I've learned. But more importantly, if you're feeling unmotivated and you're sitting in your own guck and you're stuck, that stuck energy is going to keep you there. It's heavy. And so you need to literally move the energy. So the first thing that I do if I'm feeling stuck or unmotivated, no matter if it's in my personal life, my fitness life, my health, my business, is I literally move. I will jump up and down on the floor. I'll jump on the trampoline. I'll have a dance party with myself. I'll put music on and I'll just dance with no agenda, not choreography, not looking in a mirror, not trying to be perfect or sexy. I'll go for a walk. I'll go to the gym. I'll do some push-ups. I'll do some squats. I just need to move. Once I start to move the energy in my body, it pretty quickly moves the energy in my brain. So the first thing that I do is move. The second thing that I do is, and sometimes I can kind of, I don't want to say kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I hate that, but that's what I'm referring to. We need a better metaphor here, but I can sometimes kill 2 birds with 1 stone if I go out for a walk, because the second thing is nature or just moving away from my environment. So it doesn't mean I have to go take a vacation or like have a full weekend off, but how can I move away from my environment? So if I've been in my office or sitting on my couch or in my house, I just need to get into a different environment, because again, stuck energy doesn't motivate you. And so sometimes just changing it up. Maybe I work from home, so maybe going to a co-working space once a week or going to a coffee shop. Heck, they're on every street corner, remember? So changing up where you're working, changing up your environment, changing up your routine. It's so funny. Years ago, people still will ask me what my morning routine is. And years ago, I used to have this super strict morning routine, and I would like pride myself on telling people about it. And I had this little checklist, and I would do podcast interviews and tell people about my morning routine. And I wrote about it in articles. And now I'm like, I don't believe in that. I don't believe that there's a millionaire morning. I really don't, because I am a millionaire, because I've made millions, both having a routine and not having a routine. So I've proven to myself that it is not true. I don't need a morning routine. I do think it's important to set yourself up for success and know yourself. But now I wake up and it's kind of like, what do I need today? What do I feel like right now? There are non-negotiables that I'll do throughout the day, but I'm not married to when they're happening, like movement, like some sort of a couple deep breaths, some sort of meditation, some sort of breath work. But gosh, years ago, it was like, well, first I wake up and I drink warm water and this is how many ounces. And then I meditate for this many minutes and then I journal for this many minutes and then I do my workout and da 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 da. And it was like exhausting and it just felt like such a routine. And there was a transition period where I stopped calling it a routine and I started calling it a ritual. And that felt better. And then the transition and the evolution went from, oh, the ritual are just different things that I like to do to help me stay motivated, to help me feel grounded. And I don't need to do them in order. I don't need to do them all at the same time. And I don't even need to do all of them every single day. And so I'm saying this now as we talk about changing it up, changing your routine, changing where you're sitting, literally moving and exercising, working out. And even that, years ago, workout was like, I have to do CrossFit and be on the floor, nearly throwing up, laying in a puddle of sweat for it to count. And now I'm like, sometimes I just want to like stretch or dance, or sometimes I want to push or pull, and sometimes I want to do yoga. But the transition here is that these things that I'm doing are not only moving that stuck energy, they're helping me fill up my cup. And man, oh man, is there a cliche, we cannot pour from an empty cup. How many times have we heard that? Put your oxygen mask on before you help other people. Yeah. But have you actually thought about that? I know, Jess, I know. Yeah. Put it on my to-do list, right? But what does that actually mean? You can't pour from an empty cup. So if you're feeling unmotivated, hold a mirror up to yourself. Have you been taking care of yourself? Have you been eating foods that fuel you? Have you been drinking enough water? Are you getting enough sleep? Are you managing the stress and the everyday overwhelm that you might be feeling? Is there a difficult conversation that you need to have with someone that's been weighing you down? When was the last time you did something for fun? More doesn't equal more. And so often, gosh, I know this, little miss awards and accolades over here. So often when we're not seeing the result that we want, we just keep pushing. We just keep pushing. And we're holding that boulder and we're pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. I have to work more. I need to do more hours. And we sit behind the computer and we bang our head against the wall because we're not getting the result that we want. When in reality, we can actually just let the boulder sit where it is for a second and take a breather. If we allow ourselves the time and the space to take a breather, to re-energize our muscles, to get excited again, well, we'll finally be able to move that boulder when we come back to it. And it doesn't need to be, like I said, a week-long vacation. It might just be shut the laptop for the day. Give yourself an hour. The last thing that I'll say about when I'm unmotivated, it's just reminding me that it's not about me. Everything that I'm doing, everything that I'm building, all of my purpose is so much bigger than me. It's so much bigger than the digital business evolution. It's bigger than this podcast. It's bigger than our coaching programs. For me, it is. And so when I can remember that it's not about me, it's about them. How can I go and serve? How can I go and give? If you've ever given, not with the intention to receive, but if you've ever given, like given someone a gift and they open it and they smile, or they're so excited, or you've spent time with someone or given someone a hug and you can just feel how much it means to them, selfishly, that's like the best fuel to any fire. So it's not about giving in expectation of receiving. But let me tell you, I have had days that no amount of coffee could boost my personality, my energy or my attitude for the day. No amount of coffee could boost my energy. But you know what boosts it? Doing a coaching call, getting on a live and answering people's questions for free with no intent to sell them anything, with no expectation for them to buy, just giving. How many times have you gotten on the phone with someone, like an old friend, and you accidentally, I know this has happened to you because you're my people, you maybe accidentally start coaching them, or they ask you a question, they ask you some sort of advice, and so you start giving them your answers, your feedback, and you just are lit up. You're lit up. But you also feel like you could just go on and on and on and on and on and on. You're like, whoa, I have things to do. Like, I got to go. But also, like, thank you for allowing me to coach you. Thank you for allowing me to give you advice. Because it's your zone of genius, because it's your purpose, because it's your passion. And so on days that I'm not feeling motivated, I shift my energy from anything about me and I give it to them. What could I give them? How could I show up for them? How could I serve? I remember that people need me. Not in a pressure way. People need me. I have to go, dance, monkey dance. I don't have to go perform. But wow, if I can just give a little, I end up getting a lot. And I don't give to get. And that's the most important part. But moving my butt on unmotivated days starts with moving the energy, literally shaking it off, walking it off, dancing it off. Stuck energy causes dis-ease. Pouring back into my own cup, making sure that my oxygen mask is on and not feeling bad about it. Doing it guilt-free. And then making sure that I'm out there just giving and serving. You do me a favor when you allow me to pour back into you. It's this beautiful cycle that re-energizes me. So thank you for that. So those are our 3 questions. Thank you so much, Vita, Allison, and Brittany, for your questions this week. They were awesome. I cannot wait until next week. I hope that you love hearing me answer these live. I'm so excited to do this because, again, the questions that are coming in are just striking up such incredible conversations. So if you want to be if you want to be a part of the conversation with me, live on Tuesdays, please text me any of your questions for coaching over texting. That is 973-358-7836. And it really is me. So I'll voice you back or I'll type you back, or maybe, just maybe, I will be answering your question on the podcast in the next week or 2. Thanks so much for tuning in. And as always, cheers to your evolution.